Melissa with Melissa's Creations, and today I have a really fun and simple shaker card. I have just put a couple of 1/2-inch circles inside. I didn't have any confetti and I didn't have any sequins or anything like that, so I just decided to do a few 1/2-inch circles in Dapper Denim and then some of our silver glimmer paper. And I used the Happy Birthday Gorgeous stamp set. And I think that it's really fun. I put the stamp on here, Party Time, because I kind of thought that this would make a good New Year card. So if you have anybody that you are giving a card or gift to on the New Year, this is a really cute card to do so. So let's get started making this adorable card. So we're going to start with all of our stamping and embossing so that we can get that part out of the way. I have a scrap piece of Whisper White here, and I am using my Dapper Denim ink. I have all of my stamps already mounted, but I'll show you what I'm using. We're using these two flowers as well as these and this leaf, and then the Party Time sentiment down here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have these stamps double mounted on my acrylic blocks. This is the solid flower, so I'm going to start there. And I'm going to stamp him onto my scrap Whisper White. And I'm stamping this one as a solid image with full ink. Now I have the smaller flower right here that I'm double mounting on my A size acrylic block. I'm going to stamp one of these in full ink, and then I'm going to stamp it again without re-inking it, so it's a lighter image. So ink that up, and I'll do one full, give it a little huff, and then I'm just going to stamp it down again. Just like that. And that's all the stamping on the scrap paper for the moment. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bring in another piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now this piece measures 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 of an inch. And on this little guy, I'm going to take the detailed little flower, and I'm going to just stamp a few along the background here. This is essentially going to be the background on our shaker card. So I'm just going to do a couple here and there. You could definitely stamp a sentiment behind or a larger flower. There's so many possibilities, but I'm just going to throw a few of these little detailed flowers in here. All right, I'm setting that aside. I'm going to bring back in my scrap paper, and I also have a scrap piece of paper here to stamp my sentiment. This piece measures 1 inch by 3.5 inches. So I'm going to set that down. Now I'm done with my Dapper Denim. I'm going to grab my Versamark as well as my silver embossing powder. So here is my Versamark, and I have my goodies in here. So I'm going to use my embossing buddy as well as our silver embossing powder. So you'll want to grab a scrap piece of paper or some type of embossing tray if you have one. And I'm rubbing my embossing buddy on my images here so that it eliminates the static and the powder only sticks to where I stamp. I'm just going to stamp a few pieces at a time and then heat emboss it to make sure that my ink doesn't dry too much between embossing. So I'm starting with Party Time, and I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of my sentiment piece of Whisper White cardstock here. So we'll stamp that down, leave it for just a second. And now I'll bring in my powder, and I have my tray here. This tray is actually retired. It used to be a Stampin' Up! Product, and I really hope they bring something like this back because it's pretty great. But if you don't have a tray, just use a piece of paper, fold it in half. It works just the same. So I'm going to cover this up real quick while I heat emboss this. I have my heat tool here, and what's nice about this is there's 2 settings. You can use the low setting. If you're not picking your piece up off the desk, it'll help it from blowing around. Or you can use the high setting, and it'll go a little bit quicker. So here we go. I love embossing. It's so pretty. So we have our sentiment. Now we are going to stamp the detailed flowers on here as well as a few leaves and heat emboss those as well. So on the opposite side of my solid flower, I have my detailed flower, and you can see these little triangles here on the bottom of our stamps. That will help you figure out what direction it needs to be when you line it up. So I stamped it with this triangle down, this little arrow facing down. So I'm going to do the same thing with my detailed piece. So I'm going to ink that up, and then I'm going to line it up right on top. And it's hard to see without getting my head right in the camera, so it might be off a little bit, but it's still super cute. So I'm going to stamp that and also the detailed. And now I'm going to do this cute little leaf guy. I'm going to do 3 of those. All right, so now I'm going to cut these out by hand and we'll be ready to start assembling our card. Okay, so I have my other materials here. I have a piece of Dapper denim cardstock. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I've also cut out about 11 or 12 of the Dapper denim circles with my 1/2 inch circle punch, and then I've cut out about 5 of the 1/2 inch circles from my silver glimmer paper. I have my leaves and my flowers all cut out and ready to go. This is a window sheet behind here that measures 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And then I have a Whisper White card base, standard size card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we're going to bring in our background piece, and I'm going to slide all of my little circles. Now, if you don't want to use circles, you could definitely use sequins or glitter, whatever you like to put inside of your shakers. I'm going to set these little flower pieces to the side for a moment. So I have my window sheet here. I know it's a little difficult to see, but it's there. And now I'm going to use our amazing strips. These are the dimensional strips that you can use to put around the edges. I'm taking my embossing buddy and I'm going to put just a tiny kind of layer, and I'm just going to drag it around on that window sheet, and then I'm going to push it up against the inside of those dimensional strips. That will help to keep my 1/2 inch circles from sticking to that window sheet. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take off the backing, and then I'm just going to set it down on top of my card background. So put your circles in the middle of your card where your shaker's going to go. Now I'm going to put this kind of closer up to the top, and I'm going to leave a little bit of room down at the bottom. This is going to get covered up with our sentiment, so I'm not concerned with that area right now. So I'm just making sure that that seals really well. And there's my shaker. Yay! Now to get our blue frame around our card, we're going to do a little bit of cutting in the middle of our piece of Dapper denim cardstock. We want a 3/4 inch border all the way around. So what I'm going to do is put this in at 3/4, and then I'm going to drag without cutting. I'm going to put my cutter tool, I'm going to line that little point up right here with the 3/4 inch mark on the ruler. And I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to drag it all the way down until I reach 3/4 down here. Now, if you have the short edge at the top, you start at the 3/4 inch mark and you end at the 4 1/2. And then you're going to rotate it, line the right edge up at 3/4 of an inch, cut at 3/4, and then you're going to come down until you get to 3 1/4 inches. And then you're just going to repeat on the other 2 sides. And that gives us our frame for the top of our card. So now that you have a scrap piece here, you can definitely cut your 1/2 inch circles out of this scrap piece or save it for another project. So I cut apart one of the strips. I'm going to put this down at the bottom of my card so that when I put my frame on top, it doesn't sink down at the bottom when somebody's holding it. And then I'm going to use glue dots around the frame of my window sheet to adhere my frame to the top. All right, now that I have all of my adhesive on there, I'm going to try to center my frame right on top of that. All right, so I did pretty well at getting that centered on my card. Now you can see that we have some blank space in here, and you can see our little strip here. Well, don't worry, that's what our party time sentiment is for. We're just going to put it right over the top, just like that. So I'm going to put a glue dot in each corner, and then I'm going to put a couple on the long edges. And now we'll place our flowers. So I'm just going to put a glue dot on the back of each one. Okay, we'll put our large flower here and group that with a small flower. Put a leaf behind that. And then we'll put our other small flower in this corner. And then we'll group 2 leaves behind that. I'm going to bring in my Whisper White card base, fold it in half, and crease that score line. Flip over your shaker portion, and I'm just using some multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere that to the front of my card. Center that, let it dry, and then we are good to go. And the finishing touch is to add some beautiful rhinestones. So we're just going to pick a few up and add them to the front of our card. And there we are, creators, a fun and beautiful shaker card, perfect for the new year or really any time that you want to celebrate a party. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this shaker card today. Have you tried one yourself? If not, I hope you do because they're so much fun. You can get me online at melissascreations.com, where you can click on the Shop Now link and get all of the supplies that you need to create this fun card today. Your support means the world to me, and it allows me to continue doing what I love, which is bringing out videos for you to enjoy. You can also follow me on Facebook over at facebook.com/mcreations. All of my customers have access to my exclusive Melissa's VIP Stamp Lounge, where I post challenges and other content, as well as sneak peeks for upcoming projects and videos. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle @mcreations. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will see you on the next one. Bye! And then without, oops, did you see? I almost re-inked it, but oops. And I just messed it up. It's okay. You can't really see. You can't really see it. Make sure you let this properly dry before you go and rub your fingers all over it like I did. Okay, I'm going to peel this off, and then, oh, I've already peeled it off.